advice to women. And I would say in particular, if you are a woman that's interested and eager to get married, then this is very pertinent advice to you and your experiences moving forward. And I would say the first things first is understand this as a woman. You picking fights with guys, getting aggressive, badgering men publicly or privately is something I urge against. And I'll tell you why. I think some women, because of this whole concept of equality, have forgotten the physiology, the bone structure, the strength of a man, and say things that to me tell me you've never been in a violent confrontation before. You don't understand violence. You don't understand the gravitas, the gravity of the moment. You have not grasped what it feels like to have blood in your mouth, to have that sort of feeling of, if anybody's ever tasted liver, you would understand what I'm referring to. But having that in your mouth, that feeling, if you have not felt that before, then you need to really be aware that there are consequences. And also too, you have to understand that there is a responsibility that comes with privilege, with that privilege in particular, because I think a lot of guys will understand. And I think that's the reason why you don't see it as often is dudes don't get aggressive with each other because they understand that there's consequences to that behavior. I, for one, am a very respectful individual because of that, because I understand that I would never want to offend someone to the point where it can escalate to that point. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. Excuse me. However, I notice that a lot of women don't understand that and they miss that point. So there's that part, right? Obviously, don't be so damn aggressive. Be kind, be generous, be polite, be feminine in that regard. Don't be so masculine and aggressive, loud and obnoxious. I think those are super important qualities, character traits, personality traits that I think would be easy to follow as a woman. To just be a little bit more pleasant. Don't be such, because of the inverse in roles, there's a lot of masculine sort of energy emanating from a lot of women. And I think they've forgotten their natural place in the world. And the ones that do will understand that they will get a lot farther in finding a mate and finding someone to marry if they understand that these are roles that will serve them in their best interest in the long term. There's that part. The other part is speaking eloquently. There's nothing worse than a woman that's just dropping bad words and F-bombs and cursing every other word. There's nothing more uneducated and really obnoxious. You sound like a pirate. You sound like a sailor. You sound uncivilized. And I think any gentleman that wants to marry somebody is going to be looking at that and thinking, I don't know if I necessarily want to be around that long-term, full-time. For a short time, perhaps. For a good time, certainly. But nothing more than that. The other thing is, what is going on with this sort of Lululemon athleisure sort of aesthetic? I mean, that has got to go. The polyester propaganda is in full swing, especially on these city streets. There's something about the metropolis that everybody's just starting to look a carbon copy of themselves. You can just imagine leggings, some kind of polyester jacket or sweater, a matcha, and some New Balances. I mean, it's just like the jokes write themselves. And so I think dressing well for a woman is even easier than for a man. There's just so much to choose from. So there's that part of it. For sure, understand the importance of dressing well to attract a mate. And I don't mean necessarily showing more skin. You could be elegant and still be classy about it. And so that's important. The other part is just, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here, but sorry, got distracted by some crazy. I mean, I live in LA and there's this homeless person yelling outside and it's throwing me off a bit. Okay, so we got. Oh, okay. This is another important one. This is more of a household thing. Is being able to make food being able to make nourishing food for your spouse is going to be super important, not only for your spouse, but for your children in the future. That is also very important. Um, I could not recommend that enough. And I think ultimately, the main thing that's going to be able to sustain a relationship for a woman that wants to get married is understanding that to lock somebody down that's worth your time and investment is you have to kind of adopt the man's mindset. You have to adopt his frame of reference. You have to be a team player. You have to be willing to say, I'm going to forego my desires for the team. And you have to be able to listen to a man, and I wouldn't say obey his commands, but definitely respect the decision the man makes, because ultimately we have the burden of performance. If we fail with our decisions, then we take ownership of it. We have to. There's no other way. And so that becomes the last line of defense, without a doubt. And so just understanding that part of it is that you have to think like the way the man thinks in terms of adopting his mindset, his terms of engagement. And I think any woman that understands that part and goes along with it, and rather than being a contrarian, goes a lot further. Because a lot of girls or a lot of women that are eagerly looking for a husband fail that part of it, right? They wanna be Miss Independent. They want to continue to live life on their own terms, and that's just not how it's gonna work. If you're gonna be with someone, then you have to decide that I have to be to their liking. I have to do things as they do. If you want to live single, then that's a different lifestyle altogether. And you're looking for a simp, you're looking for a cuck. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about if you want a man that you could be proud to be with, then you need to have some self-respect. And you need to understand that there's going to be certain things that you have to do differently as a result. And so anyhow, these are just some words of advice. You take what you want out of it. If you want to stay single forever, then go ahead and continue on the path that you're on. Otherwise, listen to this carefully and take what I'm saying seriously. And hopefully you'll be able to find yourself a husband, and hope this helps. I'll see you in the next one.